God's chosen one. 8 reasons why the life of a chosen one begins at 40. Keep this in mind. Have you spent decades wondering why nothing ever felt right? Why every achievement left you empty? Why God allowed so much pain when you were trying so hard to be faithful? The answer will shock you to your core. You weren't meant to bloom until now. Listen carefully. Life didn't begin when you were born. That was just your physical entrance into this world. Your true life, your destined life, begins when pain stops breaking you and starts building you. If you're watching this right now, it is not by accident. It is divine appointment. Your soul already knows what your mind is just beginning to understand. You are not behind. You are not late. You are right on time. God has been preparing you through every heartbreak, every setback, every moment when you felt forgotten or overlooked. The world told you that your prime years were behind you. They lied to you. At 40, something sacred awakens within the chosen ones, a clarity that cuts through decades of confusion, a strength forged in the fires of adversity, a wisdom that the young cannot possess. Every tear you've cried, every night you've lain awake questioning your purpose. Every relationship that shattered was preparation for this moment. Comment on time right now if you feel like you've just been summoned by time itself. If you've turned 40, type, "This is my time," as a declaration of your awakening. The next 8 minutes will transform how you see every struggle you've ever faced. You'll finally understand why God allowed certain people to walk away, why certain doors remained closed, why your breakthrough seemed delayed. It wasn't delayed. It was destined for this season. The chosen ones rise at 40. You are not growing old. You are growing into your calling. Let me reveal the 8 divine reasons why the life of God's chosen one truly begins at 40. You finally know who you are. Have you spent 40 years wearing a mask that's suffocating your spirit? Have you been performing in a play where everyone knows their lines except you? Are you exhausted from trying to be the person everyone else needs you to be? Look at me. At 40, God finally removes the blindfold from your eyes, and you see what He's known all along. The person you've been trying to become was never the person you were created to be. Let me tell you what's happening inside your soul right now. There's a holy rebellion stirring within you, a sacred uprising against every label that's been forced upon you. Good daughter, perfect son, reliable employee, self-sacrificing parent, agreeable friend, always available helper. These roles, they were prisons disguised as identities. In Jeremiah 1:5, the Lord declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you before you were born, I set you apart." Do you understand what that means? Chosen one God knew exactly who you were before anyone else tried to tell you who you should be, before your parents projected their dreams onto you, before your spouse expected you to fulfill their needs, before your children demanded your sacrifice, before your church assigned you a box to fit in. Before all of that, God designed a divine fingerprint that belongs to you alone. And at 40, like Moses at the burning bush, you finally stand on holy ground and hear your true name being called. Why does this awakening happen at 40? Because it takes 4 decades to exhaust yourself, trying to be who you're not. It takes 40 years of wandering in the wilderness of others' expectations before you're ready to enter the promised land of your authentic self. Think about it. How many times have you dimmed your light to make others comfortable? How many dreams have you buried because someone told you they weren't practical? How many times have you swallowed your words because they didn't fit the script? Others wrote for you the pain you feel right now, that ache in your soul. It's not depression, it's not midlife crisis, it's your authentic self, screaming to be released from captivity. And God is using this moment right now to tell you, it's time. It's time to stop auditioning for a role in a life that was never yours to begin with. In Romans 12:2, Scripture commands, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." This isn't a suggestion. This is a divine directive. Stop conforming. At 40, you finally have the courage to ask the most dangerous question of all. What if everything I've been taught about who I am is wrong? And that question, that's not rebellion against God, that's alignment with Him, because He's been waiting for you to remember who He created you to be all along. You're not reinventing yourself at 40. You're remembering. You're not starting over. You're coming home to the blueprint Heaven designed before time began. You're not becoming someone new. You're peeling back the layers of falsehood until all that remains is truth. You are not who they told you to be. You are who Heaven created you to be chosen. One, this isn't about selfishness. This isn't about abandoning responsibility. This is about sacred stewardship of the most precious gift God gave you, your authentic identity. When you live from this place of truth, everything changes. Your relationships become real. Your work becomes worship. Your words carry power because they finally come from the depths of who you truly are. At 40, you step out of the costume and into the light. You put down the script others wrote for you and pick up the pen to write your own story with God as your co-author. This is the holy inheritance that has been waiting for you. This is the divine awakening that makes the first 40 years worth every second of preparation. Comment, "I remember" right now. If you feel your soul recognizing this truth, if something inside you is awakening to the person God always knew you were, and as you step into this remembering, you'll discover the second transformation that happens at 41 that will finally free you from the prison of others' opinions. You are no longer bound by others' opinions. For decades, you've been a prisoner, not behind iron bars, but behind something far more restricting: the opinions of others. Can you feel that? That heaviness in your chest when you think about all the times you made yourself smaller, all the times you swallowed your truth just to keep the peace, all the moments you betrayed yourself to be accepted by people who were never assigned to your destiny. Chosen one, look at me. There comes a moment in every divine journey when the shackles break, when the desire for approval dissolves, when the need to be understood by everyone finally dies. That moment is now at 40. For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. Galatians 1:10. Do you understand what this means? Every time you diluted your light to make others comfortable, you were stepping outside of your divine assignment. Every time you explained yourself, defended your choices, begged to be understood, you were giving your power away to people who were never meant to hold it. At 40, something shifts in the spirit of a chosen one. You suddenly realize a truth so powerful it changes everything. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Let that sink in. The opinions that once controlled your every move, the judgment that kept you up at night, the criticism that made you question your worth, they become meaningless. Not because you've grown numb, but because you've grown wise. You finally see the truth. Those who are assigned to your destiny will get it. Those who aren't never will remember all those nights you spent explaining yourself, defending your faith, justifying your decisions, trying to make people understand why you chose this path. All that energy wasted because God never called you to be understood. He called you to be obedient. At 40, you stop shrinking to be digestible. Shin, have you ever considered that your need for approval might be the very thing holding back your breakthrough? That your desire to be understood by everyone is keeping you from the destiny only a few will ever comprehend. The chosen ones do not live to be understood. They live to fulfill their mission. Think about Moses. They called him crazy. Noah. They mocked him. David. They underestimated him. Jesus himself. They crucified him. Not a single person who changed history was fully understood by their generation. So I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. How much of your God-given power have you surrendered just to make others comfortable? How many divine ideas have you buried because someone might not approve? How many times have you dimmed your light because it made others squint? At 40, that stops. From this moment forward, you set boundaries that honor your soul. From this day on, you speak your truth without apology. From this second, you stop explaining your calling to people who were never meant to understand it. Those who do not understand you are not allowed to stay on this journey. Not everyone who started with you is meant to finish with you. And that's not cruelty. That's clarity. In Exodus, when God called Moses to lead his people out of Egypt, Moses didn't poll the Egyptians to see if they agreed with the plan. He didn't negotiate with Pharaoh about the terms. He didn't water down the message to make it more palatable. He simply declared, "Let my people go." At 40, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop auditioning for places you already belong. You stop seeking permission to occupy the space God has already assigned to you. And here's what happens when you finally break free from the prison of people-pleasing. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you become unstoppable. The energy you once wasted seeking approval, you now pour it into your purpose. The mental space once occupied by others' opinions, now filled with divine inspiration. The fear that once paralyzed you, transformed into unmovable faith. Have you ever lost yourself in the pursuit of acceptance? Betrayed your own soul just to keep others happy? Walked away from God's calling because someone said you weren't qualified? Comment no more right now if you're done with that life. If you're ready to break, the price of your freedom was paid on the cross. Yet how many of us still live as slaves to opinions, to judgment, to the fear of being misunderstood? Today at 40, that slavery ends when you stop caring what everyone thinks. Miraculous things happen. Doors that seemed locked suddenly open. Opportunities you couldn't see suddenly appear. The voice of God, once muffled by the noise of others, becomes crystal clear. You move differently. You speak differently. You live differently, not because you've become someone new, but because you've finally become who you were always meant to be. And this freedom from others' opinions, it's just the beginning, because once you stop looking for external validation, something even more powerful emerges from within. A vision so clear, so compelling, so undeniable that it will guide every step of your remaining journey. Which brings us to our third reason why the life of a chosen one begins at 40. Your spiritual vision becomes crystal clear. You've spent years wandering through the fog, haven't you? Chasing every opportunity, following every voice that promised direction, exhausting yourself on paths that led nowhere. But something shifted when you reached 40, didn't it? The noise began to fade. The confusion began to lift. The doubt that once clouded your judgment started to dissolve like morning mist under the rising sun. This is no coincidence. Chosen one. In Proverbs 4:25, God commands us, "Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you." For decades, you couldn't do this, not because you didn't want to, but because you weren't meant to, not yet. Your vision was being prepared, refined, sharpened through every disappointment, every detour, every moment of darkness. At 40, something profound happens in the spirit realm. Your spiritual eyes, once struggling to see beyond the immediate, suddenly pierce through dimensions. The Apostle Paul describes it perfectly in 1 Corinthians 13:12. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. That then is now for you. Can you feel it? the clarity rising within you like a mighty tide, the certainty that now guides your decisions. At 40, your vision becomes as sharp as a sacred sword, cutting through deception, slicing through distraction, separating truth from lies with supernatural precision. When Moses turned 40, he saw the burning bush. When David turned 40, he became king of all Israel. When Jesus completed 40 days in the wilderness, angels ministered to him. The number 40 represents completion of divine preparation in Scripture. It's the moment when God says, "Now you're ready to see." You no longer chase every opportunity that presents itself. You no longer say yes to everything out of fear of missing out. You no longer doubt your instincts when something feels wrong. Now you filter everything through your calling. What once confused you now confirms you. What once distracted you now directs you. What once disoriented you has become your roadmap. And do you know why this happens at 40? Because for decades, God has been writing His vision on the tablets of your heart. In Habakkuk 2:2-3, He promised, "Write the vision, make it plain, for still the vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end, it will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay." The appointed time is now. You once begged God to show you the path. You pleaded for direction, for clarity, for a sign. But at 40, the revelation strikes like lightning. You don't need to see the whole path, because now you are the path. The light of God's purpose doesn't just shine on you anymore. It shines through you. You illuminate the way for others because your vision is no longer clouded by doubt, distraction, or the desperate need for approval. You are not changed. You are revealed brighter, clearer, more majestic than you ever imagined. This is why the enemy fought so hard to discourage you. This is why circumstances conspired to make you doubt yourself. This is why relationships that weren't aligned with your purpose had to fall away. Your eyes had to be cleared to see what God has always seen in you. Isaiah 30:21 promises, "And your ears shall hear a word behind you, saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.' When you turn to the right or when you turn to the left, that voice is no longer behind you. It's within you. The clarity you sought for decades is now your constant companion. Do you feel it? That resonance in your spirit that confirms when something is right, that alarm that sounds when something is wrong. That's your spiritual vision sharpened by 40 years of divine preparation. You stood in the fire and weren't consumed. You walked through the valley and weren't lost. You weathered the storm and weren't destroyed. And now you stand atop the mountain of clarity that God prepared for you since before you were born. Do you feel like your inner vision is brighter than ever? Comment "I see now" if you feel that clarity rising within you, like dawn breaking after the longest night. But this crystal clear vision is just the beginning, because once you truly see, you must be prepared for what comes next. You see, when your spiritual vision becomes this clear, something else happens that will change how you interact with the world forever. Your pain becomes a sacred weapon. What if I told you that every tear you've cried in secret was collecting in heaven's vault? That every night you spent broken on your knees when no one saw your suffering? God was watching, and He wasn't just watching. He was forging something. Remember the darkness. You know, the one I'm talking about. The season that nearly broke you, when the bills piled up and the phone didn't ring. When the diagnosis came when they walked out, when the doubt was so thick you could barely breathe. My God, why have you forsaken me? The words of Jesus Himself in Matthew 27:46. Even the Son of God questioned in His darkest hour. You questioned too, didn't you, chosen one? But here's what the enemy never wanted you to discover. You survived what was designed to destroy you. Let that sink in. The Bible says in Isaiah 54:17, No weapon formed against you shall prosper. But why do weapons form in the first place? Why does God allow the attack? Because at 40, something miraculous happens to the chosen ones. The very weapons meant to end you become the tools that define you. Your depression. It taught you compassion. Others will never know that financial collapse. It revealed strengths you never knew you possessed. The betrayal that shattered your trust. It gave you discernment that money can't buy. You see, before 40, your pain was just pain. But now your wounds have transformed into wisdom. Your scars have become your testimony. Count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. James 1:2-3. When you were younger, you asked, "Why me, God?" But now, at 40, you understand the enemy wasn't trying to destroy your body. He was trying to destroy your purpose, because he saw what God placed inside you before you could see it yourself. Every attack was a desperate attempt to stop what you're about to become. Let me ask you something that might shake you to your core. What if every single tear you've cried was actually watering the seeds of your calling? What if the nights you couldn't sleep were actually God rewiring your spirit for a battle others couldn't fight? At 40, the chosen ones realized that pain wasn't their prison, it was their preparation. Your old wounds are now badges of survival. You no longer tell your story from the perspective of a victim, but from a supernatural vanquisher. You've cried in the dark, and that's what makes you a warrior of light. The Bible says in Romans 8:37 that we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Not just conquerors, more than conquerors. Do you know what that means? Chosen one. It means you don't just survive the battle, you are transformed by it. Your scars are sacred. They are proof that you lived, that you fought, and that you rose. When others look at your life and ask, how did they make it through that? Heaven smiles, because your very existence defies what should have destroyed you. There's an aura around those who've battled in the dark and emerged still believing, still hoping, still standing. It's the unmistakable presence of someone who has been broken open, not to be destroyed, but to release the glory that was hidden inside. If you've ever been through a darkness that seemed impossible to survive yet, here you are watching this message. I want you to declare your victory right now. Comment, "I made it out," below this video. Say it out loud too. Your testimony silences the enemy, and know this: the darkness you survived. It wasn't the end of your story, it was just the forging of your weapon. Now let me show you how, at 40, you finally understand the divine language that God has been speaking over your life all along. You find out who your true friends are. Let me ask you something that might hurt. How many people who promised they'd always be there for you actually were? The book of Proverbs 18:24 tells us, "A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." See, at 40, the chosen ones experience a profound revelation that changes everything about their relationships. You finally understand why God allowed certain people to walk out of your life without warning. Why did he let that happen? Because those exits weren't losses, they were protection. Before 40, you mistook presence for loyalty. You confused familiarity for faithfulness. You accepted convenience instead of commitment. But now your eyes have been opened. You no longer maintain relationships based on history or habit. You no longer tolerate connections that drain your spirit but offer nothing in return. You no longer chase after people who never truly see you, and that chosen one is your power. Think about the nights you spent crying over people who never shed a single tear for you. Remember the times you showed up for others who vanished when you needed them most. Recall the birthdays, the hospital visits, the crisis, moments when your friends were suddenly too busy. God allowed that pain for a reason. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 reminds us, "Two are better than one. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up." But what happens when you fall and look around to find no one there? That moment of abandonment wasn't your breaking point, it was your breakthrough. Because at 40, you finally understand that it's better to walk alone in truth than with a crowd in deception. It's better to have one friend who understands your soul's voice than 100 who only hear what they want to hear. The world told you that popularity matters, that you need to be liked, accepted, surrounded by people. But God's design for the chosen ones is different. When Jesus was betrayed in the garden, where were his many followers? When he carried the cross, who remained by his side? Only a precious few, the true ones. And that's exactly what happens in your life. At 40, the fake friendships, they dissolve, the seasonal connections, they expire, the transactional relationships, they evaporate, and what remains? Gold, pure, tested, refined gold. At 40, you're finally free from the need to be liked by everyone, because you understand that not everyone is meant to journey with you to your destiny. You stop forcing connections that require constant effort. You stop explaining yourself to people who never cared to understand. You stop investing in relationships that give you nothing but emptiness in return. And here's the divine truth that changes everything about your relationships after 40. You no longer chase connections because alignment doesn't require effort, only resonance. When something is truly aligned by God, it flows, it connects, it sustains without strain, without struggle, without you having to compromise who you truly are. The right people don't need convincing, the right connections don't require constant maintenance. The right friendships don't leave you emotionally bankrupt. Proverbs 27:17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." But you can't sharpen what isn't made of the same substance, can you? That's why God waited until now, until you turned 40, to reveal who truly belongs in your inner circle. He needed you to be strong enough to stand alone before he could show you who was worthy to stand with you. Look around you right now. Who has remained? Who has seen you at your worst and stayed anyway? Who has celebrated your victories without jealousy? Who has never made you feel like you were too much or not enough? Those are your true companions. Those are the angels God placed in human form to walk beside you. So, chosen one, embrace this sacred pruning. Thank God for every friendship he removed. Cherish every connection he preserved. And trust him completely for every new relationship he will bring. Because the connections that await you in this season, they won't just be friends, they'll be destiny partners. Right now, I want you to tag someone who has been a true companion to your soul. Someone who has always been by your side like an angel. Honor them publicly. Let them know they are part of your divine alignment. And if you can't think of a single person to tag, if you feel completely alone right now, be at peace. This moment of solitude is holy ground. God has cleared your life of distractions because he's about to introduce you to connections beyond anything you've ever known. Your true soul tribe isn't behind you, they're ahead of you. But wait. There's something even more powerful that happens when you turn 40, something that will make you unstoppable in this next chapter of your life. You understand the power of no. Have you ever noticed how the world tries to drain you? How everyone seems to have their hands out, wanting a piece of your time, your energy, your life. And for years, decades, you gave it away. You said yes when your soul was screaming no. You smiled when you wanted to scream. You showed up when you needed to rest. You extended yourself until there was nothing left to extend. Why? Because someone told you that being Christ-like meant being available to everyone all the time. Someone convinced you that boundaries were selfish, that saying no was turning your back on God's call to serve. They were wrong. Chosen. 1. Listen to me carefully. Your yes means nothing if you can't say no. In Matthew 5:37, Jesus himself declared, "Let your yes be yes and your no, no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one." Did you catch that? Even Christ understood the sacred power of a clear boundary. He knew when to withdraw from the crowds. He knew when to rest. He knew when to focus on his mission instead of every demand that came his way. At 40, something profound happens to the chosen ones. You finally understand that saying no to what depletes you is actually saying yes to heaven. It's saying yes to your divine purpose. It's saying yes to the mission God has prepared for you since before you were born. Your no is not just a word. It is a sword that cuts away everything that does not belong in your journey. Everything that threatens to derail your destiny. Everything that seeks to drain the power God has carefully cultivated within you for 4 decades. Think about it. How many times have you said yes to events you didn't want to attend? How many hours have you wasted on people who only showed up when they needed something? How many toxic relationships have you endured? Because you were afraid of being called difficult or selfish. And what did that cost you? Your peace, your purpose, your power. But now, at 40, you've earned the wisdom to know better. You've earned the strength to stand firm. When you protect your energy, you're not being selfish, you're protecting your mission. When you guard your time, you're not being difficult, you're honoring the assignment God has given you. When you set boundaries, you're not pushing people away. You're creating sacred space for divine appointment. Remember when Jesus cleared the temple, he didn't apologize. He didn't worry about what people would think. He saw what didn't belong, and he removed it. Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of merchandise. John 2:16. Chosen one, your body is now the temple. Your mind is the temple. Your life is the temple. And you have not only the right, but the responsibility to clear out whatever doesn't belong. No more guilt when you decline an invitation. No more shame when you end a draining friendship. No more self-torment when you cut ties with toxic family members. No more explaining yourself to people who never understood your calling in the first place. Every no you speak is a brick laid on the path to your destiny. Every boundary you set is a shield that protects your divine purpose. Every person you release is a weight lifted from your shoulders. In Ecclesiastes 3:1-8, we're reminded, to everything there is a season, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. At 40, you've entered the season of holy discernment, the season where you finally understand that not everything deserves your yes. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Your no is sacred. It is the sword that clears your path. It is the fire that purifies your journey. It is the wall that protects what God has been building in you for 40 years. Don't you dare apologize for it. The people who are meant to walk with you will respect your boundaries. They will honor your no as much as they value your yes, and the ones who don't, they were never meant to accompany you into this new season. Comment no more right now if you have finally learned to protect yourself with boundaries. If you've discovered the holy power of saying no to what drains you and yes to what fills you. Because here's the truth that will set you free. The moment you start saying no to what doesn't belong in your life is the exact moment your true life begins. And this brings us to our next revelation about why the life of a chosen one truly begins at 40. You start moving in silence, and it terrifies those who never understood your journey. You've gone quietly, and your energy makes them shy. Something strange happens when you cross the threshold of 40. Have you noticed it yet? The way people respond to you differently. Now, it's not your imagination. They sense something has changed within you, something that makes them uncomfortable. You've gone quieter, haven't you? Chosen one. You post less on social media. You share your opinions less frequently. You've stopped announcing your plans, your goals, your dreams to the world. And they've noticed, oh, they've noticed. What happened to them? They whisper. They used to be so present, little do they know. Your silence isn't a retreat, it's a gathering of power. In Psalm 46:10, God commands, "Be still and know that I am God." This wasn't just a suggestion, it was a revelation of divine strategy. Remember David before he faced Goliath. The scriptures tell us he prepared in solitude. While others boasted and feared, he quietly collected his stones from the brook. His victory wasn't forged in the noise of the battlefield. It was crafted in the quiet moments when no one was watching. Your silence now terrifies those who once thought they had you figured out. The ones who used to underestimate you now feel your presence without a word. They can't track you anymore. They can't predict your next move. They can't interfere with what they don't know is coming. When Moses needed his greatest revelation, where did God take him? To the mountaintop alone? When Jesus needed to prepare for his ministry, where did the Spirit lead him? To the wilderness alone? When Elijah needed to hear God's voice, what did he hear first? Silence before the whisper. This is the power of sacred silence. At 40, you finally understand that broadcasting your journey invites interference, that explaining yourself wastes energy better spent on becoming. Do you think the caterpillar announces to the world when it enters the cocoon? Does it post daily updates about its transformation? No, it simply disappears. It goes quiet. It turns inward, and when it emerges, it's unrecognizable. You've disappeared from their radar, not because you've lost your way, but because you're rebuilding yourself in a dimension they cannot access. They're confused by your silence because they've been taught that significance requires noise, that importance demands announcement, that value needs validation. But you've outgrown that illusion. The lion doesn't roar to convince himself. He's powerful. He roars only when necessary. And even then, it's not to impress. It's to impact. The rest of the time, silence, watchfulness, patient power. This is why people around you seem suddenly shy in your presence. Your energy has shifted. Where once you needed their approval, now you carry an authority they can feel but cannot name. This is the weight of wisdom that comes only from experience, from seeing enough sunrises and sunsets to know that what matters isn't who's watching, but who you're becoming. Isaiah 30:15 reveals this divine secret. In quietness and trust shall be your strength, not in noise, not in constant visibility, not in endless explanation, but in quietness, in trust, in sacred transformative silence. Chosen one, have you started moving in silence yet? Have you felt the power that comes when you stop announcing and start accelerating? When you quit explaining and start expanding? The world is terrified of what it cannot control, and it cannot control what it cannot see coming. Your silence isn't just strategic, it's spiritual, it's holy ground, where your next chapter is being written by the finger of God Himself. Comment, "I'm building in the dark," if you're acting silently but with invisible power. While others sleep, you're building. While others talk, you're transforming. While others seek attention, you're seeking elevation. And when you finally emerge from this sacred cocoon of silence, they won't just be shy around you, they'll be shaken by you. Because the power of a chosen one who has learned to move in silence isn't just intimidating, it's unstoppable. Let me ask you this. What vision are you protecting in your silence right now? What dream has God planted in your heart that's too sacred to broadcast to a world that wouldn't understand it anyway? But moving in silence is just part of your transformation. At 40, there's something even more powerful happening within you that most people will never experience. Your best days are still ahead. There's a lie that's been whispering in your ear for years now. Can you hear it? It's telling you that your prime is over, that your chance at greatness has passed, that you should settle for less, accept mediocrity, and slowly fade into the background. But I'm here today with heaven's truth that will shatter every chain of limitation you've been carrying. The world told you it was too late, but heaven just said start. Let me ask you something that might shock you to your core. What if everything you've lived through until now wasn't your actual life? What if it was just preparation? Look at Moses in Scripture. When did God finally call him to his true purpose? At 80 years old, 80. After decades in the wilderness thinking his chance was gone, God said, "Now is your time." Abraham didn't father nations until he was 100. Sarah didn't have her miracle until she was 90. Noah didn't build the ark in his youth. And you think 40 is too late. You think 50 is too late. 60, 70, your age isn't your expiration date, it's your activation code. Let me tell you why this matters right now. In this season, society has programmed you to believe that your value peaks in youth, that your contribution to this world diminishes with every passing year, that by 40, you should be winding down, getting comfortable, lowering your expectations. But they lied to you. Ecclesiastes 9:11 says, "The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong." You know what that means. It means God determines the timing of your victory, not the world's calendar. When you were younger, you were running on your own strength, your own wisdom, your own understanding. But now you're positioned to run on God's strength, God's wisdom, God's understanding. Do you realize what this means? Your best days aren't behind you. They're unfolding right now before your very eyes. Think about this. What if God intentionally waited until this moment in your life? What if He knew you needed decades of experience, heartbreak, failure, and resilience before you could handle the assignment He has for you? I need you to hear this. 40 is not the end. It is a portal of transformation. You have not peaked. You have just activated your destiny energy. You did not come to live safely. You came to leave your soul mark on this world. Right now, at this very moment, there's a book you need to write that only your voice can deliver. There's a business you need to build that only your hands can create. There's a ministry you need to lead that only your heart can guide. There's a family legacy you need to establish that only your faith can sustain. And the enemy knows it. That's why he's been feeding you lies about being too old, too late, past your prime. But I dare you right now to reject those lies. I dare you to stand up in the face of doubt and declare, "I refuse to believe my assignment expired while I was still breathing." Psalm 92:14 promises, "They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green." Do you hear that? Still bear fruit, not withering, not fading, bearing fruit. I need to ask you something personal right now. Have you been feeling a stirring lately? A restlessness in your spirit? A sense that there's more, that's not random, that's not coincidence. That's the awakening of the chosen one within you. Listen to me closely. The doors of destiny are not closing. They are just now opening wide for you. Everything you've endured, every heartbreak, every setback, every disappointment was forging the key that unlocks those very doors. Your best days are not behind you. They're the ones heaven is about to reveal through you. Right now, I want you to place your hand on your heart. Feel that beating. As long as that continues, God isn't finished with you. Your assignment isn't over. Your impact hasn't peaked. This is your moment of decision. Will you believe the world's timeline, or will you step into God's divine timing? Will you settle for what was, or will you rise and claim what shall be? Will you fade quietly, or will you burn brighter than ever before? Comment, "I accept the assignment" right now, if you are ready to enter this season of destiny. Type, "My best is ahead," if you feel the fire being rekindled in your spirit, the world has been waiting for what only you can give. Heaven has been patient until you were ready. And now it's time. But stepping into this divine timing requires something from you that no one has told you before. You need to understand the final key that unlocks everything we've been talking about. New realm of life. No need to be chosen. You choose yourself for decades. You waited, didn't you? You stood in line. You raised your hand. You lowered your eyes. You dimmed your light. All hoping someone would notice you, select you, choose you. But at 40, something within you awakens. Listen to me carefully. The greatest deception of your first 4 decades was believing you needed permission to walk in your divine purpose. Do you realize what you've been doing? You've been standing outside a door that was built for you, knocking politely, hoping someone would let you in. Stop knocking on your own door. In Revelation 3:8, God declares, "See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." Did you hear that? No one can shut it. Not your family who never understood you, not the employer who overlooked you, not the friends who abandoned you, not even your own doubts and fears. Chosen one, at 40, you cross a sacred threshold. You step out of the waiting room of life and into the throne room of your divine authority. You don't need to be chosen anymore because you finally remember that heaven already did. Before the foundations of the earth were laid, before time began its march, before your first breath, you were already selected, already appointed, already commissioned. Ephesians 1:4 tells us, "For he chose us in him before the creation of the world." Do you understand what this means? You've spent years begging for a position that was already yours. Look at your hands right now. Look at them. These are not the hands of someone waiting to be discovered. These are the hands of someone sent to discover, to heal, to build, to transform. At 40, you stop asking, "When will it be my turn?" because you finally understand. It has always been your turn. You were just looking at the wrong scoreboard. What if Moses had waited for Pharaoh's permission to lead God's people? What if David had waited for Saul's blessing to step into his kingship? What if Esther had waited for someone to notice her before approaching the throne? They didn't wait to be chosen a second time. They remembered they were already chosen, and they chose themselves. The world has trained you to seek validation before action, to need approval before movement, to require recognition before service. But that ends today. When you hit 40, something shifts in your spiritual DNA. The insecurity that plagued your younger years begins to dissolve. The need for constant affirmation fades away. The hunger for external validation is replaced by an unshakable inner knowing. You no longer wait to be invited. You walk in as the one who was sent. You don't wait for the door to open. You are the door. You don't wait to be recognized. You carry a mission from heaven that doesn't require human acknowledgement. You step into spaces where others are afraid because you know you carry the light. Do you know why the enemy worked so hard to make you doubt yourself for all these years? Because he saw what was coming. He knew that if you ever stepped fully into your authority at 40, nothing could stop you. How many dreams have you buried because no one gave you permission to pursue them? How many words have you swallowed because no one gave you a platform to speak them? How many gifts have you hidden because no one told you they were valuable? That season of waiting for permission is over. Moses was 40 when he stepped into his identity. David was 40 when he became king over all Israel. Jesus was 40 days in the wilderness before stepping into his public ministry. You have not been forgotten. You have been prepared. You stopped begging to be chosen because you remembered heaven already did. And now the only person left who needs to choose you is you. Type, "I choose myself" in the comments right now. If you are done asking for permission to step into your destiny, Declare it out loud in your home, I choose myself. When you finally choose yourself, everything changes. You move differently. You speak differently. Your very presence shifts atmospheres. And that brings us to the next profound truth about turning 40 as a chosen one. Your frequency changes everything. There comes a moment in your journey when something profound shifts inside you. After decades of trying to fit in, of forcing connections that drained you, of ignoring that still small voice warning you about people who meant you harm. At 40, God activates a spiritual filtration system within your soul. Can you feel it happening, that inner knowing that suddenly sees through the masks people wear? Your frequency is now your filter. Let me say that again, because this truth will transform every relationship in your life. Your frequency is now your filter. In Proverbs 4:23, Scripture warns us, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. For years you ignored this command. You let anyone in. You gave chances to those who never deserved them. You overlooked red flags because you were taught to be nice, to be forgiving, to turn the other cheek even when someone was deliberately hurting you. But now you understand what God was trying to tell you all along. Not everyone belongs in your garden. Not every connection deserves your energy. Not every opportunity aligns with your divine purpose. After 40, you no longer use just your eyes to choose people. You use your soul to discern. You feel it instantly, don't you? That heaviness when someone operating in low vibration enters your space. That subtle drainage when you engage with those who aren't aligned with your path. This isn't pride. This isn't judgment. This is protection. Divine protection activated within you after decades of painful lessons. What is no longer in sync with you will leave on its own. You don't need to force it anymore. Let me repeat that, chosen one, what is not meant for you will leave on its own. Those friendships that suddenly dissolved. That job opportunity that unexpectedly fell through. That relationship that abruptly ended. It wasn't failure, it was filtration. Remember what Jesus told his disciples in Matthew 10:14. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. This wasn't just instruction for ancient disciples. It was prophecy about the season you're entering now. You're finally learning to shake the dust off your feet, to walk away from spaces that don't honor your calling, to release connections that contaminate your spirit. And here's where the miracle happens. From the energy you now emit, this purified, refined frequency, you start attracting the right people, the right opportunities, the right missions. Think about it. Haven't you noticed it already? The way certain doors suddenly open without struggle. The way certain people now seek you out, drawn to something they sense in you but can't explain. Have you noticed how conversations have shifted? How you're no longer begging to be understood? How the right people just get you now without explanation? This is because you are no longer attracting from pain. You are drawing from divine alignment. Let that sink in. Beloved, for decades your unhealed wounds were magnets drawing more situations that would wound you again. Your unresolved trauma was a beacon calling similar experiences. But God has been healing you, refining you, purifying your frequency. And at 40, the transformation is complete enough that your presence alone now acts as spiritual filtration. You walk into rooms and what doesn't belong naturally falls away. You speak your truth and those not meant to hear it naturally tune out. You stand in your purpose and opportunities not aligned naturally redirect. The warfare that once exhausted you now happens automatically. Do you understand how miraculous this is? Do you grasp what God has done within you after 40 years of preparation? 40 years in the wilderness like Moses. 40 days of testing like Jesus. You've emerged with a frequency so powerful, it does the work of discernment for you. Comment, "My frequency is my filter," if you can already feel this deep cleansing happening in your life. If you sense this divine filtration system activating within your spirit, and if you haven't felt it yet, if you're still struggling with people-pleasing, with toxic connections, with energy vampires draining your spirit, don't worry. The very fact that you're hearing these words means your awakening has begun. But your frequency doesn't just filter what comes in, it determines what manifests around you. And that's where our next revelation takes us. How does your elevated frequency begin to literally reshape the reality around you? Let me show you. Nothing can stop you anymore. The unstoppable state. Can you feel it? That shift inside you. That fire that was nearly extinguished now suddenly flaring back to life. Look at me. Look at me right now. You've lost enough. You've cried enough. You've waited long enough. Now you rise. For decades, the enemy has been working overtime to convince you that you missed your moment, that your best days are behind you, that you should just settle for what you have and stop dreaming so big. But I need you to understand something right now. Every disappointment, every setback, every betrayal you've endured wasn't meant to destroy you. It was loading you with wisdom that the young simply cannot possess. Remember what Proverbs 16:31 tells us. Gray hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life. They told you that your prime was in your 20s or 30s, but God's timeline isn't man's timeline. Moses wasn't called until he was 80. Abraham didn't become a father of nations until he was 100. Let me ask you something that might shake you. What if everything you've been through wasn't a detour, but a direct path to your greatest purpose? Think about it. Those relationships that fell apart, they were teaching you discernment. That career that stalled, it was building your resilience. That health challenge, it was deepening your dependence on God. You thought you were being held back, but you were being prepared. I know how it feels to watch others succeed while you waited, to question if God had forgotten you, to wonder if you'd ever get your chance. The world tells you that at 40 you should be winding down, settling, accepting limitations, but the world is dead wrong. At 40, you have something that no young person can possibly have. You have battle scars, you have wisdom, you have perspective. You know who you are, you know what matters. You've stopped chasing approval and started pursuing purpose. The Apostle Paul reminds us in 2 Corinthians 4:16, though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. Look at what's happening in your life right now. Those doubts that used to paralyze you, they've lost their power. Those opinions that used to control you, they've lost their hold. You move differently now. You speak with authority. Now you stand in your truth. Now everything taken from you, no problem, you're still here. All the delays, no problem, you've learned what you needed to learn. Doors slammed in your face, no problem, God was protecting you from paths that weren't meant for you. The world hasn't seen what you're truly capable of yet, because up until now you've been in training, you've been in preparation, you've been loading. Psalm 92:12-14 declares, "The righteous flourish like the palm tree. They still bear fruit in old age. They are ever full of sap and green." Do you understand what that means? Your greatest fruitfulness, your greatest impact, your greatest purpose is still ahead of you. While the young are still figuring out who they are, you know. While they're chasing trends, you're chasing legacy. While they're building resumes, you're building something eternal. No one can stop you now. You're one with the mission. Isaiah 40:31 promises us, "But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Your waiting wasn't in vain. It was strategic. It was purposeful. You are not delayed. You are loaded, locked in, and ready. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your season of unstoppable purpose. The enemy wanted you to believe that time was against you, but God has been using time to perfect you. So I need you right now to make a declaration, not just with your lips, but with your spirit. Comment, "I am unstoppable," if you feel the power rising within you right now. And if you know someone who feels like they're too late, someone who's given up on their dreams because of their age, share this video with them immediately, because they're not just on time, they're living proof of God's on-time destiny. The world is waiting for what only you can bring. The wisdom, the depth, the resilience that only comes from living through seasons of fire and flood. So what's holding you back now? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Or is it simply the habit of hesitation that you've carried for too long? Today, right now, in this moment, those chains fall away, because when God says it's time, nothing can stop what's about to happen through you. And speaking of what nothing can hold back, let me show you the final reason why the life of God's chosen ones truly begins at 40. Awakening closing words. God is still calling you by name. As we come to the end of our time together, I want you to hear something that perhaps you've been waiting decades to hear. The world may have overlooked you, but God never did. Not for a single moment, not through any season of darkness, not through any valley of disappointment. Those times when you felt invisible, He saw you. Those prayers you thought went unanswered, He heard every word. Those tears you cried in the midnight hours, He collected each one. Psalm 139:16 tells us, "Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them." Before you took your first breath, God had already written your story. And trust me when I tell you, the most powerful chapters don't begin until page 40. Think about all those times you were rejected, all those doors that slammed in your face, all those opportunities that went to someone else. That wasn't failure, that was protection. God was keeping you from paths that weren't meant for you, from relationships that would have drained you, from successes that would have distracted you from your true calling. What about those dreams that remain unfulfilled? Those visions that haven't manifested yet? That's not denial, that's destiny not yet revealed. Because unlike the world, God isn't in a hurry. He's not impressed by quick results and overnight success. He's interested in depth, in maturity, in character that can only be formed through time and testing. Every second you're alive, every morning you open your eyes, every breath in your lungs, it's proof that you're still on track to your destination, because if your purpose was complete, you wouldn't still be here. I need you to understand something profound right now. You are living in the most strategic time in human history, a time when wisdom is needed more than ever, when perspective is needed more than ever, when spiritual maturity is needed more than ever. And guess what? Those are exactly the gifts that have been developing in you for 4 decades. You are not forgotten. You are not sidelined. You are not too late. You are not just alive. You are activated. If you felt God speaking directly to your heart through this message, I want you to do something right now. Type "I am ready" in the comments below. This isn't just a comment, it's a declaration. It's you telling heaven and earth that you're stepping into your divine purpose. And listen, if this video found you today, it wasn't by accident, it was a spiritual call, a divine appointment. Which is why I want to ask you to do 2 more things. First, share this video with someone else who needs to hear it, someone who feels like time has passed them by. someone who needs to know that God is still calling their name. Second, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that notification bell, because if you've made it this far in this video, you're not ordinary. You're a living sign, and there will be more divine guidance coming that you won't want to miss. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending this time with me today, for opening your heart to receive this message. Remember, your journey isn't ending at 40, it's just beginning. And I can't wait to see what God does through you in this next, most powerful season of your life. Until next time, go forth in your power, in your purpose, and in the unshakable knowledge that you are God's chosen one. God bless you. Call for donations. The content also includes a call for financial support for this mission through donations. VIP emphasizing that the act of giving will bring blessings and gifts from God